The African Food Show explored sustainable practices and innovative solutions for Africa's food and beverage practices this week. Held at the Cape Town International Convention Center, the show connects African businesses with global markets. For a closer look, here is reporter Silomina Pekelela and camera operator Mihlali Menzi.
Day one at the Africa Food Show. Of course, from my side, the word of the day, or rather the message of the day, is that a goal without action is just a wish. So for me, that tells me that there's still room for innovation that brings priority to topics such as malnutrition, especially in local communities.
So UNDP deals with development and supporting governments to achieve their development priorities. Now, when it comes to malnutrition, you have to look at it from the angle of what causes malnutrition. And one of the main ingredients that creates malnutrition is poverty, income poverty particularly. So what UNDP has done, and successfully so in many countries, is to support what we call social protection systems, which is basically empowering the poor and the vulnerable communities to be able to manage and meet the basic needs, which is food, shelter, and at least education.
We've been running the food shows in South Africa for a number of years, but this is the first edition of Africa Food, as we're calling it. And that's leveraging a big Dubai-based brand called Gulf Food, which is the largest food show in the world. So really the strategy there is to regionalise the event. In past years it's been very focused on domestic produce, domestic exhibitors, but really with this one we're trying to attract as much international interest as we can. And we have over 30 countries represented here at the show, 4 national pavilions, so it's just creating a hub for the food market of all of Africa to come down here, rather than just being one representing the local.
So what I'm expecting from this event is also to meet other stakeholders, to share our experience as UNDP, and to also share the initiative that we have started, the one I mentioned called DIME, which is to bring in digital innovation to modernize the informal economy. And here we are focusing on townships and spaza shops. Why? Because that's where people are, that's where people live, and that's where people are left behind.
From the digital innovation for modernizing the informal economy to transforming spaza shops into healthy foods markets, the role of climate-smart operations was revealed.
At Heineken Beverages, our ESG strategy is called Brew a Better World 2030 Ambition. In relation with climate change, we have three key focus areas on our environmental pillar. It's about net zero carbon, recycling, and water balance in our value chain. If I want to give you an example, let's talk about water balancing, for example. Water balancing is about how much water we use on our sites and how, as you know, we operate in Africa, which is a water distressed region, and how do we make sure we balance that water in our value chain. So we work with companies like WWF, and we look at alien vegetation clearance. In South Africa, it's mostly the blue gum trees on our riverbed. So it's about chopping those trees that suck up all the water in our riverbed and make sure the water can flow back to the communities.
We also discovered what support is available for small businesses challenged by the changing weather patterns.
They need to adapt. I mean, sustainability is one of the SDG goals, and if they don't adapt, their businesses are not going to prosper, especially ones in the agricultural side, because the agricultural companies, which are your farmers, input into the sector. So it's important that they do capacitate themselves and get to understand the weather, the pattern changes in terms of climate. So we've got different skills that we have. We provide bursaries for young people to get into the sector, the food technologists, food scientists, and other microbiologists and other skills or qualifications that we fund through our bursary program for the unemployed. We also fund PhD graduates who will then research about the climate change, research what's going on, what are the patterns that are happening in terms of climate change, and then what we can do to mitigate the issues that come through.
And that brings us to the end of day one at the Africa Food Show in City ICC. Of course, the panel discussions as well as the exhibitors that are taking place here highlighted the spirit of collaboration and partnerships across different sectors in addressing climate-related issues, but also malnutrition challenges, especially in our local communities. For Cape Town Daily News, I am Selomina Pikelela at the City ICC.